Hi, Mike Maynard here, and welcome to the third video in this month where we are really discovering how to become a better version of ourselves. So the first video, just as a quick recap, we looked at the concept of being a better me, and what does that mean, and what should I be doing that's going to bring in the greatest fulfillment in my life. The second, we talked briefly about, so I understand that there's a bigger cause to my life, but how do I find out what that is? And that's one of the biggest steps that people struggle with. So the third one, and what I want to cover today is, so you kind of know what it is, or there's one or two things, that's what normally happens. Often when I work with people, they say, well, actually, it could be one of a few things, which is fine, because we're all on that journey of discovery. So let's just say you've got an idea. You kind of know where your skills are, you know where your talents are, and you know who needs you, and you know the best place to lend them. So for video 3, I want to say to you, well, how do you get from where you are to where you want to be? Okay? Because that's what a lot of people say to me, say, Mike, I get it, I know I should be doing more with my life, but this is my reality here. I'm working here, or I've got these responsibilities, and how do I get from where I am to this kind of utopia, this dream that I've always had? How do I get to it? Well, it's basic principles. And what I want to show you is in 4 areas of how you can get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what this video is about. So please share if you know somebody's at that place, they've been stuck in the same job for ages. You talk to them, they know what they want to do, but they're just not sure how to get there. Or if it's you, then listen up. We're going to go through these 4 areas. So for me, and let me give you, I always like to bring myself into it, so you know I share a lot about myself. And for me, I discovered very early on what I wanted to do. And these 4 principles, or these 4 things that I want to bring to you today, it's things that I've used in my life over the last 20 years. So I've not just made it up, this is things I've put into practice, and I'm kind of living the dream, if you like. So let's look at this very carefully. The 4 things that you want to cover. Number 1, you need a strategy. Now, every corporate company in the world has a strategy for something. And all a strategy is, it could be a document or that explains as a vehicle how you're getting from one place to the other. So they kind of know where they want to go, and they need a strategy to get there. All right? And that's what we're talking about, this strategy. But the clue to that whole thing is, you've got to know where you want to go. So hopefully after the last video, you took stock of where you currently are, and you've realized that you're here because of certain things, and you've now created this vision, this picture off in the far off future that this is where I'm aiming to. And your strategy is it's a statement or a series of steps that says, this is how I'm going to navigate myself from here to there. Now, for some people, it might be a simple thing. You realize, actually, to get where you need to go, you need to retrain. You need to go back and restudy. You know, there's nothing wrong, no matter what age you are in your life, to go back and learn something new. In fact, we all should be doing it. The world moves so quick now. The knowledge that we had yesterday is already redundant. My children know more than me in certain areas. I'll tell them this, and they'll say, no, Dad, that was ages ago. Because life has moved on. You know, so we have to constantly relearn. So for some of you, if you've discovered your purpose, you've discovered your reason why, and you don't have the knowledge, that's your first step. You've got to go and get that knowledge. For others, it might be a slower transition. For example, if you've got a lot of commitments, as I said, you're in a job, but let's say, for example, you're teaching at the moment, and you realize, actually, your purpose, you've always had a passion for law, you know, and so maybe the transition from being a teacher to a lawyer is hard, but could you not teach it? Could you not study law and then produce documents to help other people, or produce a blog, or produce, or lend your, volunteer, or whilst you're still doing your job? See, this thing is about doing the thing that we know we should be doing. And some of us, it will be easier to make that transition. Other of us, because of responsibilities, it might be a slower gap, but there's always a way that you can make it happen. So if law is in your heart, And you can't train to be a lawyer, or you can't be a lawyer. There's nothing wrong with you studying law and still getting that qualification. There's nothing wrong with you specialising in parts of law and then teaching it to others. There's nothing wrong with sharing what you have, based on legislation, of course. Do you see what I mean? It's about bridging. It's creating a bridge from where you are to where you want to get to. So you need the strategy. You need a way, simple steps that says, actually, the best way for me to get from where I am to where I want to be is this route. The best way for me to market my product might be through Facebook. My evidence tells me that. Or it could be through YouTube. My strategy will tell me that. And the important thing I said about that is it is underpinned by research. So take time to research where you want to go. Look at what other people have done. How have they got to that place? How have they succeeded in that area? And then write your strategy. Write it very clear, very plain, basic steps on how you're going to get from there. Just imagine crossing a bridge. You're at one side and you want to get to the other. Do you run? Do you walk? Do you go underneath it? Do you go over it? What's the best way of doing it? So that's number one. Number two is principles. Now, it's amazing. We all understand the word, but none of us probably have, well, we probably have principles that we live by, but they're not documented in any which way. If you are truly to get to that place of fulfillment, you need to have principles, personal principles that you're living by. Now, if you look at what a principle is, it basically, it's the thing that governs you. It's underpinned by what you actually believe. It's like a foundation for your belief, if you like. So I do this thing because of what I believe. Do you see what I mean? So I'll give you an example. For me, I realized I always had to be in business and I had to help other people get into business. So when I was younger, when I was 20, I was 25 years old, I was thinking, how do I become this guy? How do I become this business guy? Now, for anyone who knows me, they know I love cars. I was into, you know, all the sports cars, and I would change my car once a year. But one year what I did is I changed my car. I think this was probably my fourth car, fifth car, and I was only 25, 26. I changed it for a Jaguar X-Type. Beautiful car. But everybody who saw me said, that's an old man's car. Now, I cannot tell you the amount of people that told me that. But the reason why I got it is because typically the only people that had that were business people. It was a business car, you know, luxurious, the leather seats, the model of it. And so I used that. That was my principle. I used it to say, well, actually, because I believe that I'm going to get into business, I then used the car as a vehicle to get me there. And it helped shape my image. It helped shape how people perceived me. It was one of those, do you see what I mean? It became literally a driving force for me. So that's just an example. Other things are things that I've set for myself. Like, you know, at the beginning of every week, I make sure I do a to-do list. And that's something very simple, but it's a principle that I live by because I realise by putting everything into order, I gain more clarity. Do you see what I mean? I'm going to be more successful. And the success is my belief, but I'm using that principle of getting organised through a to-do list every Monday morning to drive me forward. So set some principles for your life. Things that are going to govern you. Things that are going to are almost a display of what you believe. You believe that you're going from here to there, and you use a principle to get you there. It stops you doing things that are outside of what you're trying to go or what you're trying to do. Don't be scared to set principles for your life. The third one I'm going to speak about is having clear actions. As I said with the strategy, there should be step by step. Now, where you're looking to go, imagine this as a physical journey. Let's say, for example, you want to do something in America. We're in the UK. We want to do something in America. Or if you're watching this from America, you want to do something in the UK. Either way. And it's a far-off thing because you need to get your plane ticket, you need to get accommodation, you need to do all these things. Have very clear actions that are measurable. And if you have to get someone else to be accountable for it, if you have to show that list to someone else, but have these lists, put time, allocate a time to these lists. This is very simple, very practical, but you'd be amazed the amount of people that don't do lists and don't time them and then don't monitor that list. How do we expect to succeed if we don't adopt these principles. So the first thing is be clear with your actions and make sure they're realistic. And the time that you put on it, that should be a research time. So what I mean by that is, if you know, for example, it's going to take you a month to study, or a year to study, put that year. Build a plan around that. Because you want no surprises. You want to plan everything out. So make your plans and your actions very clear. Step 4. So, step 4 is environment. Now this is really key. Not just while you're trying to get where you're going, but when you start to get there. Your environment is everything. It will make or break you. Where you are right now, where you're watching this right now, the environment that you're in will determine how much you take in from what I'm saying. If the world is chaos around you and it's a busy environment, or you're in a coffee shop or something where there's lots of noise, you'll get bits of what I'm saying, but it won't sink deep in because you're not in a still, quiet place. If you're at home and people are making noise in the background and all sorts of stuff, then you're going to, again, get bits of what I'm saying. But actually, how much of it will, the distractions and all the rest of the things may prevent you from really getting the message. So your environment is everything. If you are around people who do not support where you're going, they will have a massive impact on where you want to get to. You now have a new set of belief, and you've set some principles that says, I'm going there. But if those around you mock, laugh, discourage you, have no faith in your ability, jealous, you will not get where you're going unless you shed those people. I'm not saying now you get rid of your family, get rid of your friends, but what I'm saying is, when you're building what you're building, when you're writing your strategy, when you're setting your principles and you're putting your actions down and you're starting to move towards that, make sure the environment that you're in supports where you're going. Like with my car, it supported me. That car helped frame my mind, helped frame the mind of others. It helped get me to where I was going. So make sure your environment supports where you're going. I'll give you 2 analogies where this was really important. My son, I remember, going back 8 years ago, I remember him being in a particular school, nothing wrong with the school from everyone else's point of view, but I didn't feel that it was giving him the values as a person that I wanted him to have. And so I moved him out of that school. I moved him to a school almost 20 miles away. Trust me, it was a long journey for him to get to school and back. And he slept on the bus and complained at the beginning. But at the end of it, he appreciated the fact that I took him from this environment and put him into that environment. It made a difference to the way he thought, and for those now who he was around. Let me give you one more analogy. Have a look at this. So, just the seed, right? But if you want that seed to become this, then you have to plant that seed in the right environment. Now, if that seed just sits on the table, if it just stays there on the shelf, it's still a seed, isn't it? But it won't grow. Why will it not grow? Because the environment that it's in doesn't support its growth. And so in order that seed to grow, it needs to be taken and planted in the right place. Then, when it's in its surround and in its water, it will grow and become a tree, or become a nectarine, as that is the case. And it's the same for you. All the gifts and all the talents that you developed or you discovered, what we talked about in video 2, all of these gifts, these amazing things that you can do, because you're in the wrong environment, they're not being used. Because your job at the moment doesn't support it, they're not being used. But once you get into the right environment, you'll grow and you'll start to flourish. Some of us wonder why at times we're miserable, we're unfulfilled. We cling on to these New Year resolutions as a chance to change. But the change doesn't happen. Why? The seed can't change without the environment. So you need to make sure your environment supports your growth. So those are 4 steps, principles, going to keep using that word, 4 things to help you. Now you've discovered what you want to be or where you want to go. These are 4 things that you need to implement to get where you're going. I hope this has been useful to you. Video 4, that's going to be the last one in the series of the January purpose. And video 4 is going to say, right, I've arrived, I'm in it. How do I maintain it? Because there's a lot of us that have been on this journey. We're in our purpose, we're doing it, we're getting fulfilled. But how do we maintain it? Now that's the challenge. You'll see my details on the screen. Drop me an email. Let me know what you think about the video. You'll see it on Facebook or whatever. Give me a comment. I like to know that your lives have been changed through the words that I am speaking. And hopefully I'm one of these people that are helping you to grow. So I'll see you on the next video. Catch you soon. My name is Mike Maynard. Bye-bye.